The air was heavy with silence. Every human knelt in the sand, heads down, hands behind their backs. They were prisoners' trophies after the battle lost. The alien warriors stood tall around them, strong and cold, their silver weapons glowing under the twin suns. But one human didn't kneel. His name was Callum. He stood with his back straight and eyes open. His hands were tied, yes, but he didn't bow. He didn't tremble. And he didn't blink when the alien war chief walked toward him. She was tall, armored in black scales, and her hair flowed like burning wires. Her name was Shira, the chief of the clan. She had never been defeated, never been touched. Her own people feared her. Her voice could silence a crowd. Her blade had ended hundreds. Everyone watched in silence as she approached the human who dared to stand. Her metal boots made soft, crunching sounds in the dust. One of her guards whispered, "He doesn't know who she is." Another said, "He'll be made an example." But Callum looked straight into her glowing gold eyes. She stopped in front of him. Their faces were only a foot apart. She was taller, stronger. Her people waited for her to strike. To crush this foolish human, instead, Callum did something no one expected. He smiled. And then, he lifted his bound hands slowly and gently patted Shira's head. It was soft. It was not violent. But in alien culture, that act meant something ancient, something deep. A pat on the head was a gesture used only between masters and pets, or between a parent and a child. No one had ever touched a warrior chief like that. The entire clan froze. Weapons dropped. Mouths opened in shock. The wind stopped moving. Even the guards forgot to breathe. For one moment, the battlefield went quiet because something had broken. Shira's eyes widened. She didn't move. She didn't speak. Her chest rose and fell like she had been struck by a sword. But no blade touched her. Just a soft pat. She looked around. Her warriors were looking at her differently now. They didn't salute. They didn't kneel. They didn't obey. She had lost something. Her command, one of her own soldiers whispered, "She's not chief anymore." Another said, "He claimed her." The rules were old ancient blood laws. A warrior chief who was touched without resistance had unknowingly given up dominance. And if no one stopped it, the one who did it could become the new leader. But Callum didn't know any of that. He stepped back and looked confused. "I didn't mean anything," he said softly, but it was too late. Shira turned and walked away, her steps slower than before. The clan did not follow her. They looked at Callum now, not as a prisoner, not as a weak human, but as something else. He didn't kneel, he didn't fear, and without knowing it, he had changed the balance of power in a whole alien tribe. For the first time in years, the warriors did not move when Shira gave an order. She stood on the edge of the cliff, watching the winds carry dust over the dry land. Her hand gripped her sword, but her fingers felt weak. Her heart beat fast in a way it hadn't during war, but in fear. Fear of losing respect. Behind her, the camp was changing. The warriors sat in small groups, whispering. Some stared at Callum. Others kept their eyes on the ground. The moment he had touched Shira's head, everything changed. The law was not written, but it lived in the blood. A leader who allowed such a touch without killing the one who did it had lost her power. Shira had not attacked Callum, and that meant, in the old way, she had accepted the gesture. Now they waited for someone to lead, but Callum wasn't a leader. He wasn't even a soldier. He sat near the cage where prisoners rested, silent, thinking. He had only wanted to show calm. In his world, a pat on the head meant comfort, kindness, not insult. He didn't understand what he had done. A young alien named Roa, only 16, stood up and walked toward him. Her braid showed she was born under the moon, star a future warrior. She looked at Callum and asked, "Are you our chief now?" Callum blinked. "What?" You touched her. She didn't fight you. The power moved. No, Callum said softly. I didn't want that. I don't want control. But it doesn't matter what you want, Roa said. The clan has no leader now. They look at you. Because we don't know where else to look. Shira heard those words from far away. Her teeth clenched. Her pride burned. She had led for 20 years, won countless wars. And now, because she didn't strike a human, they saw her as weak. She turned away and walked into the forest, deeper into the red trees. Her blade stayed in its sheath. She didn't cry. Chiefs never cry. But the silence in her steps was louder than war drums. Back at the camp, Callum stood. His voice was calm but firm. You don't need me. She's your leader. I'm just a man who made a mistake. But the clan did not move. Not toward her. Not toward him. They were stuck. Leaderless. An old warrior named Drog spoke next. His voice was deep. Then you must undo what you did, or accept the role. Undo, Callum asked. You must find her, and either defeat her, or return the symbol of respect. Only then will the law break. What symbol? The touch, Drog said. It carries meaning. You must kneel, and she must strike you. Only then can the balance be fixed. The words hit hard. Callum looked toward the forest where Shira had vanished. So he had to go to her, kneel before a warrior chief. Let her hit him. He closed his eyes. That would be easy if Shira wanted her title back. But deep inside, something told him. She wasn't sure anymore. And worse, someone else in the clan wanted that power too, at the far edge of the camp, behind the last tent where no fires burned. There was a cage maul, rusty and hidden under cloth. No one went near it. Most of the clan had forgotten what was inside. But Callum, while walking alone that night, heard a sound. A soft hum, a quiet song. He pulled the cloth aside. Inside the cage sat a young alien girl, thinner than the others, her eyes glowing faint blue in the dark. Her hair was tangled, chains wrapped around her ankles and wrists. But her face wasn't angry. It was calm, too calm. She looked up. You're the one who touched her, she whispered. Callum stepped closer. Do you know what that means? The girl nodded. I know better than anyone. She's my sister. Callum froze. You're Shira's sister. The girl smiled faintly. They call me Lyra. I was born second. And second ones don't lead. That's the rule. So they locked me here when I turned 12. Too soft, they said. Too human. She touched the bars gently. She was born to rule. I was born to disappear. Callum crouched beside her. What happened today? I didn't mean to take her place. Lyra's eyes narrowed. You didn't take anything? She gave it, not by choice, by silence. That's how the law works. Callum sighed. Why is a touch so powerful? In your world, it means peace. In ours, it means power. Lyra looked down. A pat on the head is what a parent gives to a child, what a master gives to a servant. It means I own you now. Callum's heart sank. She didn't stop you, Lyra continued. She let it happen. Her body didn't fight. That's the key. But I wasn't trying to own her. That doesn't matter, Lyra said. To them, you now wear her crown even if it's invisible. Callum stood, unsure of what to say. But Lyra leaned closer. Listen, she whispered. There's something worse coming. What? There's another who wants the crown. His name is Varn. He's older, stronger, and angry. He's waited for years to challenge Shira. But now that the law is broken, he doesn't need to fight her. He only needs to fight you. Callum's blood went cold. Lyra gripped the bars tighter. He's planning something tonight. He knows you're not a warrior. He'll wait until the moon touches the water rock. Then he'll strike. In front of everyone, and what will happen if he wins? Callum asked. He will claim both the crown and the tribe. And he'll kill me. I'm the last threat. Callum stared into her eyes. You need to get out of this cage. No, she said. They'll kill you if they see you helping me. I'm already a dead man if I stay silent, Callum said. He looked around. No guards, no watchers. He bent down, took a small sharp bone from the ground, and began to pick the lock. Every second counted. Lyra watched him with wide eyes. You're not like the others, she whispered. I'm not here to rule, Callum said. I'm here to stop a war that hasn't started yet. With a final click, the lock broke. And somewhere behind them, in the shadows, Varn was watching. Shira walked alone through the red forest, far from the noise of her clan. Her boots pressed into the soft soil. Her sword stayed strapped to her back, untouched. The wind whispered between the trees, but she didn't hear it. She was thinking of that moment, the soft touch on her head. No blow, no insult. Just a human's hand, resting lightly, without fear. And everything had crumbled. Back in the village, her name was no longer spoken with respect. Warriors hesitated. Some followed the human. Some waited for a new command. But none looked to her. And worst of all, she hadn't stopped him. She didn't know why. Her body froze that moment. Her mind locked. It wasn't weakness. It wasn't fear. It was something else. Something she couldn't name. She wasn't just chief by strength. She was chief because she earned loyalty. But now, even her own blood Lyra was free. Yes, Shira knew. She had seen them. Hidden in the trees, she had watched Callum break Lyra's cage open. He didn't take the key from a guard. He didn't ask permission. He used a broken bone. A crude tool. No power, no army. Just choice. And Lyra followed him out like a shadow slipping from chains. Shira didn't stop them. Why? She looked at her hands. These hands had ended lives. Crushed enemies. Raised banners. But today, they had done nothing. She turned back toward the village. If she stayed in the forest, she would fade. Her name would vanish. A chief without a clan was just a ghost. But before she could take another step, a voice called from the shadows. You're late to your own funeral? The voice said. She didn't move. From behind the trees stepped a tall figure Varn. His skin was rough, his shoulders broad, his eyes sharp, like a beast waiting for blood. He carried a heavy hammer instead of a sword. Why are you here? She asked. To take what's mine, he replied. You failed. The clan is without spine. The human shamed you. Now I bring the end. You waited for this. I trained for this. I spared you once, Shira growled. You should have killed me, he said. Then he stepped closer. I won't make the same mistake. But instead of attacking her, he walked past, toward the village. Toward Callum. Shira didn't follow. Not yet. She stared at the path he left behind. She had two choices now. Walk away and live with the shame. Or return not to reclaim her throne, but to stop something worse. Varn didn't want balance. He wanted blood. Callum wasn't a warrior. He wouldn't survive a duel. Not against Varn. And Lyra, her sister, would be the first to fall once Varn ruled. Shira clenched her jaw. She pulled her sword from her back. For the first time in her life, she wasn't fighting for pride. She was fighting for choice. She was fighting for her sister, and maybe even for the human who didn't kneel. The circle was drawn in the center of the village wide, marked with ash and bone dust. Every warrior stood around it in silence. No drums, no chants, just waiting. In the middle stood Callum, unarmed. His eyes scanned the faces around him. Some watched with curiosity, some with quiet hope, others with hate. But all of them were waiting for the same thing, a fight he didn't want. Across the circle, Varn stepped in. His chest was bare, marked with old scars. His weapon was a massive hammer wrapped in blood-colored cloth. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. He just raised one hand and pointed at Callum. "This ends now," he growled. "A human does not wear the crown." The crowd didn't cheer. This wasn't sport. This was law. If Varn won, he'd become chief. If Callum died, the clan would return to tradition. Simple, brutal. Final, but Callum didn't lift his hands. He took a deep breath and knelt. Gasps echoed around the circle. Warriors stepped back. Even Varn stopped for a second. Callum spoke, loud and clear, his voice calm like a still lake. "I didn't come here to rule you," he said. "I came here to survive. But if this is what must happen, then I kneel." Let her take it back. All eyes turned behind him. Shira stood at the edge of the crowd, her sword in hand. She stepped into the circle, slow and steady. Varn roared, "He kneels to me. I am next." "No," Shira said firmly. "He kneels to me." The wind shifted. The tribe held its breath. Shira walked to Callum. He stayed still, head low. She raised her hand. Everyone watched. All she had to do was strike him. A single blow. Even a slap would return the crown to her, but she didn't. Instead, she placed her hand on his head, soft, gentle, exactly like he had done to her. And the crowd lost their voices. That gesture, simple, silent, was now returned. "But it meant something deeper now," Shira spoke. "He gave me the crown back. But I no longer want to wear it alone." She looked at her warriors. "For too long, we followed strength. We feared softness. We crushed kindness. And look where that path brought us." She turned to Varn. "You want to lead through fear. Through blood, but fear fades. Blood dries. Only respect stays." Varn took one step forward, his hammer shaking. But Callum stood now, slowly, calmly. He faced Varn and said, "You can strike me. You can call yourself chief. But the people have seen something they can't unsee." He looked at the crowd. "You saw mercy. You saw change. You saw a warrior break a rule, not with a weapon, but with trust." Shira stepped beside him. Lyra stood on the other side. A triangle. A balance. And for the first time, no one moved to stop them. Varn growled. "This isn't the way." Shira replied, "Maybe it's the way forward." And Varn, proud, angry, ready to kill, wired his hammer. Not because he agreed, but because he was alone. The sun dipped low behind the cliffs, painting the sky red and gold. A quiet tension covered the village. Some warriors gathered near the fire. Others sat in the shadows, unsure who to follow. The old way was broken. The new way had no name yet. In the middle of the village, Callum sat beside a small fire with Lyra. Her chains were gone. Her smile was faint, but real. "You changed everything," she said softly. "I didn't mean to," Callum replied. That's why it worked." From the hill above, Shira watched them. Her sword was sheathed. Her armor removed. She no longer needed it. She wasn't the same person who led through fear. She had changed, too. Not for power, but for peace. But not everyone was ready for that change. A sudden howl echoed through the rocks. Then a blast smoke rose from the outer tents. Screams followed. Warriors ran to the east wall. Flaming arrows rained from the cliffs. The exiles had returned. They were the ones who left long ago, those who believed only in blood, war, and dominance. They had heard of the shift in power. And now they came to crush the weak and take the land. Chaos broke out. Warriors screamed. Children cried. Tents burned. Callum stood and grabbed a fallen spear. He wasn't a soldier, but he wouldn't run. Shira joined him, sword in hand. She looked at him and nodded. "This is your first battle," she said. "Then let's make it our last," he answered. Side by side, they moved through the village, fighting back the invaders. Lyra protected the young ones, guiding them into hidden tunnels under the stones. The clan divided just hours ago began to unite. Old warriors who once doubted Callum now stood with him. Younger ones followed Shira again, but not out of fear, out of choice. Together, they pushed the enemy back. One of the exiles tried to stab Callum from behind, but a silent arrow hit his chest. Callum turned to see Roa, the young warrior girl, standing tall with her bow. She gave a small nod. It was working. They were no longer a clan of one ruler. They were a family of protectors. When the battle ended, the fires were out. The wounded were cared for. The dead were honored. But the clan had survived because they had changed. In the morning, the circle was cleaned. The ash was swept. The weapons were laid down. And 3 figures stood in front of the people. Callum, the man who didn't kneel. Shira, the chief who gave up her throne with grace. Lyra, the girl once locked away, now free to guide with wisdom. They didn't wear crowns. They didn't sit on thrones. They simply stood together. Callum stepped forward. "No more blood for power," he said. "No more silence for truth. From now on, we lead together, not with fists, but with choice." The clan didn't cheer. They stood tall and quiet. It was their way of saying yes. That night, the stars seemed closer. The wind softer. And deep inside the earth, where old laws once lived in stone, a new future had begun to grow. And it all started with a simple act, a pat on the head.